In this commit, I'm going to make it so that you can actually enter in your guess as to what the solution is for each of these problems. In order to do that, I shouldn't just be printing out the sum just as a string like this. Instead, I'm going to print out an input element. First, let me show you what inputs look like. It's just what HTML uses for text boxes, just like that. And then if I just wanted the answer to show up in there, I would use the value attribute of this input. So I would do something like that. But this doesn't make for a very good challenge because all the answers are already there. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to create a custom attribute on this input element. I'm going to call it secret answer. And then I'm going to put my sum, the answer, in there. So it's not good practice to make your own HTML elements. For instance, to create a Wombat element, that's not very good practice. But creating your own custom attributes, there's much more leeway with that. And I use it all the time. It can be very useful for if you want to attach different pieces of data to different elements that you're going to want to do things with later. What I'm going to be doing with this guy is whenever someone enters in an answer in one of these text boxes, is JavaScript is going to compare what they typed in with this secret answer attribute. I'm not using value because the text would just show up like we saw before. It's just already right there. I don't want that. So I'm going to use this secret attribute thing, which does not make the text show up out there. Okay, so after I have generated all of these problems, I'm going to get all of the input elements, and then I'm going to say on change. Change is an event that occurs whenever the value of one of these inputs changes. So value, I could set it myself, but it also updates whenever someone types anything in here. For instance, this input box now has a value of 89. Now it has a value of bagel. So whatever you type in there, that's going to be its value. So whenever someone clicks on, whenever someone types something in there, first I'm just going to make sure that's working. So now whenever this value changes, yep, I can see that that updates. One thing to notice about change is that it only works when you move away or when you unfocus, when you click out of this text box. And that's not really what I want. So maybe I'll change this to input. Let's see how that goes. And now I think that's going to happen whenever they just type anything at all in there. Um, well, you know what? I changed my mind. I'm actually going to go back to change, but now you know that input is in there. All right, so whenever the value has changed, first I'm going to want to get that secret answer attribute of this particular element. So I'm going to say first get the element. So I'm going to do var L equals this. So inside an event function, this is always going to be the thing that triggered the event. So if I console log the element in here, you can see that it's this input right there. If I do the same thing down here, it's also an input. You can't tell just by looking over here, but these are different inputs. If I do var answer equals L dot prop, or excuse me, dot adder for attribute, now I can get the secret answer attribute. I can console log that instead. So whenever someone types something in here, like 2, they get, you see in the console, what the answer should actually be. All right, so that's pretty good. Now I want to get the guess that they typed in. So I can do L val for that. That's val for value. Remember, the value is whatever has been typed into an input box. So I'm going to show those together. I'm just going to do guess plus answer. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, so that looks correct. Yep, that all looks just fine. All right, so now to make it actually do something different depending on whether the guess is equal to what the correct answer is. First, I'm going to check if guess is equal to whatever the answer is. Then the L should get a background color of sort of a light red, I think. Oh, excuse me. No, this is if the answer is correct. Then it should be, I'll do a light green. Otherwise, if the guess is not the correct answer, then I'll say the background color should be, now I'll do a light red. So let's see how this goes. If I go in here and I type in 12, it turns red. If I change that to 13, it turns green. This is pretty cool. And it's going to do the exact same thing for each of these guys. So if this is, I'll leave that incorrect, and I'll leave that incorrect. I'll make this one correct, and there we go. I could see that each of these is working perfectly fine. So now it shows me if the answer was correct.